my best either. Okay. Um, so Alyssa, tell me, let's see, you and I have been talking to each other for, gosh, probably a dozen years. And I think when we first spoke, you were raising funds to create a Balinese dictionary. Is that right?
Yes, and Tim, thank you so much for taking the time. Um, Around 2011, we launched our first Kickstarter to raise funds for a community developed digital dictionary to help strengthen the Balinese language. And you were kind enough to help us along with our Kickstarter at the time. Um, we've since morphed. The community has um, developed the wiki from being just a dictionary to being an online public participation platform where young people speak out about civic issues using their local language. And we also expanded from Bali to South Sulawesi and Kalimantan and Lombok, Indonesia. So we're now in 4 provinces. And over 4 million people have used the wiki with.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, the wiki began as a kind of a dictionary where people could submit, words, translations as a means of like community commitment to saving the language. But it sounds as if it then became a tool of social engagement.
Exactly that. When we started, Wikipedia was just becoming popular. And when people in Bali saw the power of Wikipedia, they said, why don't we turn this community developed dictionary, which was exactly as he said, people, we had taxi drivers sending in videos saying, I'm driving my passenger to the market. Literally thousands of people sent in videos. And when they didn't have enough bandwidth, they would give us a flash drive with recordings from people in their villages. Um, and after a couple of years of this, people said, wait, why don't we make this a more like an encyclopedia? And so they started adding data about people in their village or events. And then right around COVID, people started talking about how they were doing. And we then kind of leaned into it and said, okay, how are you doing? And people said, well, I'm struggling with this or this, or I came up with this idea that's making my life a little better. And it became a platform for discussing ideas. Um, and we talked to the government about this and we said, young people have amazing ideas about how to improve the environment, how to improve public health, how to improve transportation. Um, how about, we try to amplify their voices and, we'd like policymakers to respond to young people online so that we know that policymakers are listening and young people hear that policymakers are, thinking about the young people's suggestions. So it's really been this amazing grassroots effort. I never would have anticipated where we are now, but here we are.
Yes. So two things occur to me from what you said. One is, um, we say very glibly, history is written by the winners. Um, when you give people in general language and the opportunity to write, then they're starting to write their own version of history as opposed to solely the official version of history. And the other thing is that when people say to me, is the Endangered Alphabets Project a linguistics project? I kind of go, well, it's really like a human rights social justice project that focuses on writing. And it sounds to me that you've discovered in the process of the last 7 or 8 years that by giving people their own language back and to perhaps their own script as well, it's becoming a sort of a vehicle for social justice.
Absolutely. And to celebrate people's languages, especially when local people see that people around the world are interested in language diversity. And as you know from your work, Tim, the world thrives on diversity, whether it's diversity in wildlife or diversity in language, written language, oral language. Um, Culture and people thrive in those environments. Um, we've, and speaking of human rights, we've also seen that women in particular, their voices haven't been as heard as around the world as men's, and we're finding that our programs are being used by 50 to 60% women because they were not given the opportunity in years past to have a voice in policymaking. And so to have a voice in policymaking in their own language, in a platform that they've been able to help shape, is incredibly empowering. And we're finding that young women especially are really taking advantage of the opportunities in a really robust way to bring forth their ideas and their worldview. So, yeah.
So let's talk about the current Kickstarter. First of all, just the nuts and bolts. When did it begin? When does it end? How much are you trying to raise?
Right. This Kickstarter is to create an app which will allow people to participate in our public participation competitions and also to use the online dictionaries offline. So over 4 million people have been using the platform, but not everyone in Indonesia has consistent or affordable internet access.
Right.
And so we would like to create an app to allow people to use the platform and participate in policy discussions, whether they have internet access or not. We've been talking with the government about using this kind of app in every classroom in Balinese high schools and in high schools throughout South Sulawesi. So there's a need. We know that it'll be used by literally millions of people, and we just need to get the app created. So
Right.
we're looking to raise $12,000. 8,000 will initially go to the development of the app, and then the remaining four will be used throughout the year for refinements. We know there are always refinements in an app
Yep.
and maintenance. We just started a couple of days ago, and it'll go on for a month. So I guess we're maybe 27 days or so left.
And so the deadline date would be,
That's a great question. In about 27 days.
which is what? Hang on, I can actually look it up on the Kickstarter page.
I am going to go
27
look
days
that
ago.
up.
Saturday, September the 7th. Okay, Saturday, September the 7th.
September 7th at 5:51 p.m. Eastern Time.
Exactly. Okay, so yes, I'm going to post this on my social media and encourage people at the very least to see what's going on, because for many people in the West, the whole notion of language is kind of a theoretical or cerebral notion. And so, not surprisingly, it's like if you raise the money for a dictionary, then somehow you've solved the problem. And first of all, we know very well that that's just the beginning of language teaching, for example, or language revitalization. But it's also only the beginning of the solution. And what I love about what you've been talking about is how once the enterprise passes into the hands of those who create it and use it, then the sense of what it can be used for and what it can be useful for just kind of becomes more and more inventive and more powerful. So I wish you all the best with this, and I'm going to do whatever I can to promote it at this end. Um, and the only thing I want to ask you off air is how the heck you managed to create an app for only $8,000. But that's an industry secret we'll share. All right, so I'm going to stop recording now.